Please like, subscribe, and be sure to click that bell button for regular and exciting indie film content and your chance to be the first to engage with the little network of film festivals as we embark on launching the careers of the filmmakers of tomorrow.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's weekly roundup for the Toronto Festival. Now this is a really interesting stream because this one is going to be combined, our last looks and our weekly roundup for the Toronto Festival. So I'm Carolyn. Please excuse the motor buzzing fan sound in the background. My laptop is having a hard time. I'm streaming from America today, based out of London. My colleague Lloyd, who usually streams with me, is in rehearsals for a Shakespeare festival, which is fantastic. So excuse the humming sound. So this week, some updates on the Liftoff Global Network. We had an amazing networking event, and this was all done online via Google Hangouts chat meeting. And what we did is all of the filmmakers who participated, they showed a one minute clip of their work, and then they got to talk about what it is they're working on right now, what they're really good at, and what it is that they could maybe use some help from other filmmakers on. So it was just this fantastic event. And for today's shout out, I actually want to shout out the filmmakers who participated in this networking event. So they are, in no particular order, Vinny and Ernestina, Suzanne, forgive me, Amelia, Mitch, Isabella, and Craig. Thank you so much for participating in that networking event. And Craig, I just want to do a little shout out to your music. So Craig has a music video in the festival. Do I remember the name of it? Yes, Between the Sky and the Sea. And his music is great. So go check it out. That is our little bit of our shout out for this week's engagement with our filmmakers in the Liftoff Global Network. Okay. So now, getting into what is this Liftoff Global Network. The Liftoff Global Network, yes, we're a series of film festivals. Right now we're doing the Toronto Festival, but we're much more than that. We are also this network, hence the name, of filmmakers who want to support each other in their work and collaborate together in the future. So we have a professional membership platform that in professional membership, you're able to have free submissions to all of our festivals, but not only that, you're also able to, for future projects, submit treatments, submit all of your material for the films you're hoping to create, and get feedback from us, and have the potential for the projects that we feel the most excited about, that we can take them along with us to film festivals, film markets, and help you try and get those films made. So those are some awesome reasons to be a part of the professional membership with the Liftoff Global Network. Okay, the other great thing about the professional membership is that you are able to vote in the network round. So Toronto is starting to wrap up. Toronto, the festival is going to end on the 3rd of July. And when that part of the festival ends, then the films that have progressed through the festival then move into the network round. And in the network round, our judges and our professional members can then vote on the films. So without further ado, that's a nice little segue, we're going to go into what today's stream is all about. First, with the weekly roundup. So as I was just talking about the network round of our festivals, it's kind of the last stage of our festival. We're still in the first stage of the Toronto Festival. We're in the last week of it, last few days. And at this stage, we have two types of categories for how our films are gaining recognition. One of them is the judges are giving their critical feedback on which films they think should progress to the network round. But the other is we have audience votes. And the audience votes really reflect how filmmakers are able to get their film out there and seen in the world. That's the toughest part, right? About being filmmakers and creating work is then finding your audience. Well, this stream, the weekly roundup, reflects the audience votes. So We're going to look at not which films are currently in the lead, but which films have received the most votes this week. So the most movement among votes, new votes. Very excited to talk about these films with you. So we're going to start with our local filmmakers category for the Toronto Festival. And the first film up is We Are All in This Together. Okay, this is amazing because this film received 8 new votes this week. That is huge. A lot of these films have just received a lot of votes, a lot of audience watches this week. So We Are All in This Together is directed by Mitch Bergen. He was there on our networking event today, earlier this week. Let me pull up a still and I will read his logline for you. At its core, our film is a family drama with a twist. As an alien invasion threatens humanity's very existence, an estranged family must put aside their differences and work together to survive. Okay, so that is We're All in This Together. The next film in our local category is a film called Out of Rain. Really excited to highlight this one because we haven't highlighted it yet on any of our streams. And it is directed by Elena Arsenchuk. And Elena, great job because your film this week received 3 new audience votes. That's fantastic. So let me pull up a slide, a still. And the logline for Out of Rain is, on a rainy evening, Sarah, a lonely widow, opens her door to a lost stranger named James, who asks to use her phone. The conversation takes a dark turn when the stranger confesses that he killed his father. Really exciting. So Out of Rain within the local filmmakers category. Okay, now moving into the judges select category. First film up is Pret a Poppy. This has been in our weekly Roundup streams the entire time. You've been doing a wonderful job getting votes. And this time you have received 10 new audience votes. It's incredible. Okay, so this film is directed by Zoe Nelson, and let me pull up a still. Poppy is a greatly misunderstood fashion design student who is pushed to the limit by her professor and competitive classmates as she designs her ambitious fashion show costume. Fantastic. And the next film, as part of the Judges Select, is a film called Mapping Love. Now, we highlighted this film as part of our first looks of the festival, at the very beginning of the festival. I personally watched this. It is fantastic. This is directed by Zoe Nelson, and here is a still. Filmmaker Mary Alice McMillan explores the geography of her family's past to learn why every woman in her family has developed breast cancer. An investigative documentary through the generational effects of a massive environmental disaster at the Love Canal Superfund site in Niagara Falls, New York. Okay, so that again is Mapping Love, directed by Mary Alice McMillan. She also plays a role in it, and you can find that in the Judges Select. Okay, now moving on to our Trendsetters category. This is mind-blowing because this film, female, why not just filmmaker, received an incredible 11 new audience votes this week. 11. That's fantastic. So this is directed by Isabella Presnell. And Isabella, I see you're in the chat. It was so great to connect with everyone this week at the networking session. I agree, Isabella. Really lovely to see you. And congratulations on getting so many audience votes on your film this week. Here is a still of her film. And her logline is, sharing the experiences of women at different points in their careers across the changing platforms of independent cinema and digital content, Female is a documentary that investigates where women are today if they're not in Hollywood. Really cool concept to talk about the women filmmakers in independent cinema. Thank you very much, Isabella. Yeah, we're happy to have you featured as well. She said, so grateful to be featured in the chat. Okay, and our next film as part of the Trendsetters category is Ginny's Enterprise. Ginny's Enterprise is directed by Suzanne Marie Moreau. Suzanne was also part of the networking event this week, and this one also moved a huge 8 votes. Just large amounts of audience views this week. So let's pull up a still And for Ginny's Enterprise, the logline is, a young girl is oppressed by the patriarchal and xenophobic attitudes of the 1960s Cold War. She copes by escaping into her own imagined version of Star Trek, where she becomes the master of her own destiny. Okay, so as a Trekkie myself, I think that logline is so fantastic. So creative. Really love it. And I had to look up, when did Star Trek first air? 1966. So, very perfect. And now, into our final weekly roundup category, we have our features category. And the first one up again, as last week as well, is Wayne's Misery. So this is directed by Gurmandur Bijari, or Michael G is also how he is known by. And here is, oh, and this film moved 3 more audience votes. Okay, so in our stills, the logline for Wayne's Misery. In a small town in Iceland, 2 people from New Jersey meet by accident, and Wayne, a 10-year-old boy, is forced to face his own demons when his psychopathic friend pushes him to commit worse and worse crimes. Cool. Very cool. And our last film as part of the features category is Wanton. Now, Wanton is directed by Victor Dubna, and this one also moved a huge 3 votes. That's really big for the features category with these longer films. And let me grab a still for Wanton. Wanton is an abstract and expressionistic musical horror show about identity, self, repression, anxiety, nostalgia, and the digital age. Through a series of obscure and ghostly images, the film tells the loose story of a man fighting to take off a self-imposed mask. Great. Okay, so that gets us through all of our weekly roundup of audience votes. We've got a couple more comments in the chat here. Isabella says, thank you for everyone who's voted for my film. So happy to be able to share women's experiences in the film industry. Yes, thank you, Isabella. Very, very important. And then she gives a shout out to Jenny's Enterprise. She says, it's a wonderful film. Highly recommend watching. So great. Go take a look at it. You've got a couple more days before the festival ends on the 3rd of July. Okay, and now as our last looks, this is when we just highlight additional films that we think it's worth for you to take a look at. Today we're going to do a little bit different, where I'm only going to highlight one additional film today, and then I'm going to invite you down in the comments underneath the video, put your comments of which films you recommend people watching this video should take a look at, okay? So it's their last look at the festival. Which films were your favorite? Should they take a look at? So the film I'm going to highlight, very excited to talk about this, is The Deportation of a Model Citizen. Now, I talked about this film several months ago as part of our Manchester Festival. This one is directed by, sorry, let me pull up my notes. This one is directed by our friend Jacob Thomas Pilgard. Sorry Jacob for messing that up. We chat with Jacob quite a bit. He's very involved as a filmmaker, always letting us know about new awards that his film is getting. This film is beautiful. Let me pull up a still for you. Okay, this is a still from Deportation of a Model Citizen. And let me tell you a little bit about it. 2 police officers are to pick up Ida, a young, well-integrated student, from her foster mom and escort her to the airport where she is to be deported back to Syria. A touching and hard-hitting drama created with inspiration from a true story about a Syrian refugee. Highly recommend watching this film. Not only did it qualify for the Oscars in 2023, but it's just a very moving, very well shot, very well acted, and very well written script. I think that Jacob is a really remarkable up-and-coming filmmaker, and that you should all definitely take a look at this film. Now, it's a short film, so you'll find this in the Judges Select category, and trust me, it is well worth your short 20 minutes of time to take a look at this story about how immigrants were being deported from Denmark rather unfairly. You'll come to love Ida and also the 2 police officers who come to escort her away. The deportation of a model citizen. Okay, so now to conclude with the last looks, don't forget, put down your suggestions down in the comments below this video. What is your recommendation for a last look at this festival? What should people take a look at? And that's it for me from America today. I'll be back in London next week, continuing with streams for the New York Festival, which will be starting up. And if you're interested in having your film in more festivals, consider joining the professional network like Jacob has. Jacob has been putting this film, Deportation of a Model Citizen, into each of our festivals. And so it's been gaining wider and wider audience viewership because it is going through all of the cities of our 12 city-based festivals around the world. New York will be starting next week. Toronto will be moving into the network round next week. And so get watching those films, make your comments in the chat. Isabella's made one more comment there at the end. She's recommending some more films in the chat here on the side. She's saying, I can recommend After Row Films, We Are Legends, Standards, The South Asian Dream, Ginny's Enterprise, and Witch Reborn, all made by women. How cool. Thank you very much, Isabella. Okay, everyone, have a great day.